I need y'all to channel me on this. Yeah, T Swift on the track. Peace Queen.
Peace King.
Peace Queen.
Peace King.
Peace Queen.
Peace King.
Peace Queen.
Peace King.
Hotep Queen.
Hotep King.
Hotep Queen. Yeah.
Yo, peace family. First things first, I want to say I give honors and respects to all the teachers out there who are involved in the movement and the education and raising the consciousness vibration of our people. I want to pay my homage and my respect to you guys. I have a great deal of respect for all my teachers out there who are in a constant struggle of waking our people up. The unification of our people, it has to come now. Not has to. We will will that into existence. This is the last key component of the missing elements that is missing from our movement. All right, so we're continuing on to part 2 of the conversation or lecture regarding Black Power versus Moorish science. And before we continue, we really have to understand what the two are. Black Power, or the Black Power movement, or the Black Consciousness movement, has to do with the intent. Okay, follow me on this. Nothing that I'm about to state is my opinion. Everything that I'm speaking on at this point will be dealing with universal truth and fact. Okay, so the Black Power, the Black Consciousness movement in the 60s was the intent. It was the people being pushed up against the wall and now manifesting the intent. More science has to do with the universal's laws, the spiritual side of it, the law side of it, what gives you righteousness, what gives you your ground, what gives you your chance to take a stand. In order for our movement to be successful, the two must marry. You take the spiritual and the intent, and what you get is manifestation. Neither side can be successful by themselves. You must understand that. And yes, I'm talking to all my Moorish brothers and my Moorish people. You must understand this. Neither side can be successful unless the two marry. So they must marry. They must come together in order to create manifestation. Because you can't have the spiritual consciousness side and rest on your square and believe that in this day, dealing with this devil and these people who have broken laws, who have no souls to any higher laws, then that they would somehow honor these laws. So it's one thing to know your law, but another thing is to make sure you have the intent to stand on what you believe in. So I'm not saying take everybody to war. What we're doing is we're going to say that we will stand for what is lawful. And you have to understand there's a difference between what is legal and in what is lawful. So in order for our movement to be progressive, the two must marry.
Ooh, hey, what it be, Judge? I mean, nobody got hurt. I mean, Sister Betty say today was a good day, man. Cheer up.
That tall Punk Panther's gun wasn't loaded. I bet you the rest of them weren't either, man.
All right, let's find out.
Brother, leader must have courage of Simba, lion. This is only the beginning.
Oh, refreshments, Brother Bakar?
No.
Brother Bakar, you should have been there. The pigs laid down to us. We are finally getting the respect that we deserve, just like you prophesied.
Sister Alma, more libation, please.
Yes, brother.
Like I said, brother, we are the vanguard. Once Cleaver's story comes out, then you'll see.
Hey, man, what the fuck are you doing? Hey!
Malcolm X's widow's life was on the line today, and your guns weren't loaded.
A gun's a gun, man. It doesn't need to be loaded.
Tell that to the pigs, or better yet, tell that to Brother Malcolm.
You wait a second.
No, you wait a second! Because you and your punk panthers are counter-revolutionary. You got 3 choices. 1, you merge with us, you follow our rules. 2, you change your name. Or 3, we annihilate your ass.
You listen, pretty ghetto boy. You're a long way from Oakland, and you're not Malcolm.
Fuck you!
You're the kind of brother we don't need. You're the kind of brother that gets other brothers killed. You're gonna change your name! Bakar, tell him you'll do it. Tell him you'll do it.
Oh, okay. But only for the revolution. Help me out. Move out! Move out! You okay? Move out! See? This is counter-revolutionary. Like crabs in a barrel, pulling each other down.
Brother Jamal, where you going, man?
Forget him. Brother Jamal!
Point Moors need to recognize as well. So it's still dealing with addressing the issues with Moors. For us to be conscious and be under the belief that, you know, just because we're going to go in a courtroom and present ourselves lawfully, and we could be 100% correct, and the court not have any law, and those courts could still kidnap you, still, you know, try to lock our people up, and no matter how many lawsuits or things you file, still get away with what they're doing. And the reason why is because we lack the intent behind that. So anytime you don't have the intent behind it, then it's like, okay, well, we'll get to it when we want to. I guarantee you, if you start to put the intent behind it the same way the Black Power movement did, then it's like, okay, hey, we need to back down. These people are serious about enforcing the law. These people are serious about, you know, their rights. And that statement needs to be made, because when they deal with people in the secret societies, these secret societies, the people who run the private banking cartels and all of these things, these people make it very clear that they're not playing with these judges. And people don't understand these things. Like Bush was actually indicted, or they'll tell you he wasn't indicted, but he was. And then what happened is, behind the scenes, you have to understand this, behind the scenes, all they do is they pull out their ace. They always have an ace in the hole. It's like, you don't have any power to indict or enforce any type of law on anybody because you are bankrupt. So the secret societies and the people who run things in a country, what they did is they made a plan, and they executed that plan in the 1930s, was to bankrupt the country. When they bankrupt the country, no country that is bankrupt can bring across any criminal suit, any traffic suit, any civil suit. So you can't do anything, but you don't know that if you're a part of the corporation. But people like, you know, Bush family, or these people who are up in there, Rockefeller, they know these things. So they bring their law when they get brought up on stuff. It's like, look, you have no law to do anything with us. We own you. You're getting paid from our private bank, so you work for us. And unless you understand these principles, you don't understand these things. And the contract that proves these things are your Social Security. These documents that you walk around with shows your allegiance to this corporation that they run. Understand that these are corporations, and they will, you know, enforce their corporation. They will enforce their law because you're a part of their corporation. But if you're not dealing business with these people, if you have no contracts with these people, and you're in your sovereign state, you'll see a different outcome. But you need the intent behind it. What is your intent behind it? What do you have backing you? It has to be more than a flag and a few people. You show a movement behind you, then it's like, okay, hey, we need to make sure we're not doing anything illegal. We need to make sure we're not infringing upon the people's rights. And that's where we got to really start to lay the foundation.
Now, when you get into a res judicata, state decisis of United States versus Hatchett, this was like in the 60s. You had 140 judges have gone to the Supreme Court, and they have in fact stated that, well, in Article 3, Section 2, it does in fact state that judges' wages shall not be diminished. Now, why is this in fact true? Because of the fact I am an Article 3 judge, and that is the clause inside the Constitution pursuant to Article 6, Clause 2 of the Constitution, that this is the Supreme Clause of the land. Now, they came out in one sentence and shut them all down, 140 said, because you're not Article 3 judges. Reason being, because you're not being paid it in lawful money. Now, who is the biggest violators of this Constitution? Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution says what? No state shall make anything but gold and silver currency. So by one, judges being paid by the International Monetary Fund, which is a foreign agent to this land, that is committing treason. Two, by them being paid in Federal Reserve notes that has not been they did not have permission to do that by the Constitution, that is also committing treason. 3, even if they was coming straight from the Federal Reserve Bank with these Federal Reserve notes, you can go right down to 34th Street and see the deficit of the increment going on by the second. So this is a state of decisis that has not been yet overturned, and as we know, according to law is concerned, a Supreme Court decision, until it is overturned, is standing.
That's because you don't know it's communistic, but they do, and they're profiting off of it. In Russia, everyone knows it's communistic. That's why it's not the best. They're still having trouble over there. But everybody here is following suit and willfully taking part of a communistic structure. They're willfully taking part of it by being in a public contract. The public contract is the Socialist Security Card number. Now, if you have that, you're part of the Socialist Republic, same thing as the Socialist Republic of Russia, and you're being adjudicated, or you're being having law put upon you in a communistic form and fashion.
I would just like to bring out just a little correction on this part. If he made it as correction, but he used the word willfully twice in his sentence. That needs to be brought up because, as I stated earlier, what's lawful is not legal, and what's legal is not lawful. But it all stems from going back to the root of the problem, because of the fact, since the Constitution was suspended since 1933, a lot of people, a lot of judges and lawyers are not even aware of this fact. The ones that are aware of that fact, they have taken a secret oath not to even bring it out. So what has happened is that since the United States is a bankrupt nation cannot bring suit on anyone at all, whether that be in a court of law or equity, whether that be a civil matter or criminal. So here again, if you don't know your rights, then you don't have any. And the judge is not mandated by the court to be able to tell you that rights, because now he cannot practice law from the bench. But see, this is why they love you so much as the super Negro that you are. You are my people. We are in God we trust. We will give you a public defender. You can have a legal aid lawyer. Legal aid lawyers, his job is to do two things: plea bargain and lose. He's not there to defend your rights. He's not there to inform you of your rights. How do you know that? Going back into the scriptures, of all the professions that Christ himself condemned, he condemned lawyers in the book of Luke, chapter 11, verse 52, when he said, "Woe be unto you lawyers, for you hide and despise the key of knowledge." And that is, in fact, what is taking place today in these courtrooms. The very foundation of the courtroom has, in fact, come from the scriptures, as stated in the Congressional Record Public Law Federal 96-280, that it goes in the part that says that not only that Congress declared the Bible true word of God, but it also says that the very foundation of the scriptures influenced the whole Constitution. Had it not been from the scriptures, we will in fact have none. Now, you brought up a point earlier that how we made a great contribution to the Constitution. Well, that's absolutely correct, because one, we already had a form of government already in existence here before the European settlers even got here. One, the only thing that Christopher Columbus discovered is that he was lost. That was it. That's all he discovered. That's one. Two, our people was already over here, and we already had our own form of government, Eastern and Western. So that whole mythology that you hear about George Washington chopping down a cherry tree, that had nothing to do with a so-called tree. Because one, there's no trees that grow in Philadelphia. That was the so-called Moorish Empire that was ran by Hebrews, that was known as Moors during that time, when we ruled Spain for 800 years during the 8th century. When they conquered us on the Great Lakes in the year 1787, when they lowered down that flag and raised up their flag, this is the symbology of chopping down the cherry tree. And as the Honorable Judge Wright brought out earlier about blacks thinking that they can become president, pursuant to the Constitution, they could never become a president, because when the Constitution states that when this Constitution was adopted, a citizen has to be naturally born, and when this was drafted. Blacks had no rights during that point in time because of the fact that they was in slavery. And another misnomer that I like to bring up is that we all didn't come over here on slave ships. Our people was already ruling over here because of the fact that we ruled England up until the 1800s and Germany up until the 1700s. This is where you get the foundation of the courtroom from. Because this is why back then in England, why the Europeans used to wear the white wigs and put it on their hair, because our people wore their hair like that. The reason why they wear black robes today is because it was black people in rulership who was making judgment. When the Europeans was put in the Caucasus Mountain in the hills of Europe, they didn't go there on their own free will. They was unfit to be amongst us. So they were sentenced there by a man by the name of Justinian, who created the whole justice system when he was sent to the hills of Europe. So this is all common. You reap what you sow, will come around, go around, but it's all a spiritual condition of our people. So the reason why we keep losing as a people is because we keep looking for a physical solution to a spiritual problem.